Hi everyone. Today I'd like to talk to you about building an authentic CV that's going to help you find the right match as opposed to any match. Now, as a hiring manager over the years of kind of 10 years in the corporate arena, I've seen lots of CVs, I've hired people, and I've seen my colleagues recruit and hire people as well. And one of the biggest mistakes I see is normally only seen kind of a few months into the job, where the relationship breaks down. And this is often because one or both parties weren't completely authentic during the recruitment process. And, you know, it's normal, we want to put our best foot forward, we're looking for a job. So we want to present the type of person that we think the organisation wants. Equally, an employer wants to put a face on of the type of organisation that you would want to work for. Unfortunately, though, what happens is when two people, much like in dating, aren't completely authentic and upfront at first, it leads to disappointment and mistrust further down the line. The ironic thing as well is that actually, if you get really, really clear on what it is that you want from an organisation and a role, and you have one very strong CV, it actually leads to much less work, more a higher success rates in interviews, and the right interviews as well. So a better use of your time if you get really, really clear on what you want and stick to it. Now, it can be a bit scary. We want to kind of widen the pool and have as many options available to us as possible. But what we really want is just one really good match. And the employer wants the same for that as well. And so I just want to share a few tips on just based on my experience that hopefully might help you. So one is to really think about who you're targeting. So what type of organisation do you want to offer your services to? And spend some time getting really, really clear on what this is. So I'm just going to share an example which might bring this to life of from my own CV as a marketing professional before I became a coach. So this is what I had on my CV. I am a highly experienced senior marketing professional who enjoys working with businesses who are looking to make big changes in the way they approach their marketing. I particularly enjoy working with clients who have a challenge to overcome or an opportunity to change and or grow. Now, that will have put a whole heap of organisations off. Anyone that was risk averse, anyone that wanted somebody who was going to keep the boat steady and maintain the status quo, they would have read that and thought, she's going to be a nightmare. She's going to want to change everything. So we're not going to interview her. And that's fine. That's not the job that I wanted. It would have been really easy for me to be really generic in that introduction so that I would appeal to the masses. But inevitably, that's not what I want. And 3 months into that job, I wouldn't be enjoying it. And they would be frustrated with me because I want to change everything. So that's just an example of how you can get really, really clear with your messaging on your CV to attract the right organisation and the right job. Secondly, tie your strengths to your desired target position. So really ask yourself what value your strengths can bring to an organisation. And I mean your unique strengths and gifts as well. So again, spend some time getting really clear on this. Ask your previous managers, your previous colleagues for some anecdotal kind of feedback, because the generic strengths that we again think the employer wants to hear, they've heard it all before. They want to know specifically your unique strengths and how that ties to the value that you're going to bring to the organisation. And then thirdly, inspire confidence by presenting yourself in a really authentic way. So often when we're feeling not confident in what we're saying, we tend to use a lot of excess language and kind of fluff some, pad some bits out. And it's really obvious that person is perhaps nervous or trying to oversell themselves or not being completely confident or upfront. So once you get really clear on what it is that you can offer, you'll find that will flow much more succinctly in the language that you use. So just be aware of that. And kind of show your character through your writing. Also, if you do have some gaps in your CV, be upfront about it and explain them on the CV, because you may not get the chance to explain, and that may be your first chance. The CV should tell your story, and if a career break is part of that, then share that and talk about how that's what you learned during that time. And then lastly, share something interesting about yourself. Now, I know lots of people and a lot of my clients, when I work with them on their CVs, they'll say, oh, no one wants to hear that, or I hate putting hobbies on my CV. And I would agree that it can sometimes be a bit naff and a bit, specifically when it's very generic and somebody just lists their hobbies. However, if you've got something really unique, or something that really gets people's attention, I would say include it on your CV. As an example, but previous to my career in the corporate arena, I worked in TV and film, and that was a really long time ago in my career, but I've left it on my CV. I don't take up much space, but I had a line on it, and it's really interesting how often that got brought up in CVs, and it just made me more memorable and stand out. So if there's anything interesting or quirky, it also really helps the recruiter and the hiring manager in an interview kind of build some kind of rapport or connection with you, and gives you something more relaxed to talk about, which especially if they find a connection with you through a shared interest, it really helps kind of build that rapport in the interview. And that's it really. There's just 4 tips. I mean, there's loads more that I could share, but just wanted to share a few tips with you just to really help you feel more confident in presenting yourself authentically, because I really do believe that it will help you have a much higher success rate, and a more long-lasting relationship with your new employer, if you've been presented yourself in a really authentic way. So I really hope that helped. And as ever, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch.